Well, hey there. I am so glad to see you. I have missed you. It has been a few weeks since I sat down to record a YouTube video and meet you here. It feels like months. I've just been so busy, probably like a lot of you. I've been behind the scenes, spending my time managing my live digital workshops. That's designing the custom content for clients and delivering the workshops between 2, 3, and 4 hours per session. And that takes all of my energy and all of my time. And then the afternoon is meeting with prospects and writing proposals and developing content for the next workshop. It gets tough. But I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back. And I still feel that I've been connected with you because I do pop in, as many of you know. I read your comments and I reply to your comments. So thank you. Thank you for keeping the conversation going the way that you do. Speaking of comments, I got the idea for today's topic directly from the comments. Several people have reached out asking me for help because they've gotten feedback from a manager, from a supervisor, that they need to check their tone or work on their attitude, or they need to sound friendlier. And so the question for me is, how do I sound friendlier? How do I improve that tone and attitude? It's actually not that hard. I'm going to give you 7 things to do. They're actually easy. Some of them you're probably doing, but just be mindful of each of the 7. Be intentional about each of the 7 ideas that I'm going to share with you as you're interacting with customers over the phone. And you're going to improve that experience. You're going to improve the way people perceive you over the phone. Now, you only have to do 7 things to get the telephone customer experience right. But of the 7, 2 are the standouts. You have to do 2 to really stand out. And to illustrate the importance of 2 of the 7, I'm going to walk us through a little exercise. I'm going to call out 6 numbers, all right? I want you to not write them down. Don't type them out. Don't pause the video. Just play along with me. In my live workshops, back when we could do that live and in person, I would start off by giving a series of numbers and you'll get to be a part of part 2. All right, what I do. So I'd read the numbers and then you'll see part 2. So again, don't write, don't type. I have the numbers written down. I'm going to read the numbers to you, which is part 1. And just listen. 27, 14, 37, 8, 11, 19. All right? Don't pause the video. I trust you. You're not writing. You didn't type. What was the first number I gave you? Did you say 27? If you did, you would be right. What was the last number? And as I say that, I've got to open this up. I don't remember myself. What was the last number that I gave you? Yes, it was 19. You got that right. All right, I gave you a total of 6 numbers. What was the 4th number I gave you? What was that number as I go to look because I don't remember? Did you say, yes, 8, 8. It is 8. How about the 3rd number? 37. Yes, you're right. Now, when I would do this exercise in my in-person workshops, so part 1 was listing the numbers, and then part 2 is I would ask for a show of hands. People would usually just call out the numbers, as you just did with me here. In my experience, by far, most people remember that first number and the last number. Like over 90% would recall the first and the last number. But when I would say, what is that 3rd number, that 4th, that 2nd, that 5th number, most people couldn't recall it. It would get down to like 29% of the people could recall like that 3rd and 4th number. Why is that? In a series of events, people remember the first thing and the last thing disproportionate to anything else. On your phone calls with customers, if you're trying to work on your tone and attitude and how you're perceived, remember this. Your customers remember the way you open that call, the first few words that come out of your mouth, the first 4 to 6 seconds. They remember that, and the way you end the call, disproportionate to anything else. Now, it doesn't mean the body of the call doesn't matter. It doesn't mean your support techniques and the way you answer questions and your knowledge doesn't matter. I am not saying that at all. But what people remember the most is the way you open the call and the way you end the call. So if they survey you, that is what they are really thinking of. We have to get it all right, right? We have to get it right. We need to help them. We need to come across as confident and knowledgeable, but we do have to sound friendly, and friendliness is the first and the last thing we do. And that is what we're going to get in this video. You're going to get that and the body. When you watch this video and then you adopt and apply the 7 keys that I'm giving you, you will sound friendly. You're going to sound friendly, you'll make a connection, and you won't have to get that feedback that your tone or your attitude or your approach is off. I am so glad you're here. All right, let's get to it. Number 1. Open with a lead in. I like to think of opening a phone call like welcoming a guest to your home. When you invite a friend or family member to your home and you open the door, you usually have energy. You have a smile on your face. You're warm and you are welcoming. I want you to adopt that same posture over the phone. Here's how you pull off the lead in over the phone. You start with your greeting. You're going to identify either your company name or department name. You'll make an offer to help, and you'll do all of that with a smile in your voice. It might sound like this. Good morning, customer care. My name is Myra. How can I help you? So you see we have all of the components here. The greeting is good morning. Customer care is identifying, in this case, the department name. You might need to identify your company name. It just depends on what works for your position. Give your name and then offer to help, doing all of that with a smile in your voice. When you kick things off with a warm and welcoming lead in, you set yourself up as friendly and you are fostering a sense of rapport right from the first second. Number 2, acknowledge concern. You may not have to deploy this step in every phone call, but if your customer is upset, confused, or frustrated, anytime you pick up on an opportunity to convey empathy, if it makes sense in that situation, I want you to acknowledge your customer's concern. Here are 3 ways you might do that. I realize how frustrating this is for you. It sounds like you've had a frustrating time. I really like the word frustrate, frustrating, frustrated when it comes to speaking to a customer's pain point. I don't want to assume a customer is angry, so I don't want to say, I realize you're angry or I know you're upset. I think that is too much to assume, and I don't want to incite a person to become even more intense. So frustrate is right there in the middle. It is general enough to not, assume, and it is general enough not to overlook an emotion that you do want to acknowledge. Finally, I can see your point on that. I love this phrase, when I disagree, but yet I don't want to go back and forth with you. I can say, I can see your point without going further, without going deeper, without arguing with you. It's a great way to acknowledge concern. So if your customer is displaying any emotion that you know you need to acknowledge, try one of these phrases, or even better, come up with a response that makes sense for your style and the situation. Number 3, yield to callers. Now, what do I mean, yield to a customer? If you have a tendency, and I do have this tendency, to overtalk people or talk fast, I want you to be mindful that in conversation, you need to yield to the person. That means give them the right of way. Because if you don't give a person the right of way, you might be perceived as rude. You're perceived as over-talking or cutting them off. So the solution to that is to yield. How do we yield? Let people finish their sentences. Just pause, take a break, let them finish, before you go on. And this can be hard because a lot of you are having to manage your talk time, right? You're trying to get that average handle time down, and we're tempted to jump in and guide customers to the next steps. But I want you to let people finish their sentences. If you accidentally interrupt, and it will happen, all right? It will happen. Just apologize. I'm sorry. You go on. Even when you know that you're going to have to transfer a call based on what the customer is telling you, I want you to stop. Let the customer finish what they are saying. Usually it will only take a few seconds, hopefully not more than a few, but let them finish their thought before you interject, not interrupt, but interject and then guide them to the next steps. Yielding helps you come across as friendly, as a partner rather than rude. So if you're ever told that you're rude or you sound apathetic, it could be that you are not yielding. So try yielding. That will make all the difference. Number 4, bridge into questions. Now, a lot of the time, perhaps most of the time, to help a customer, you have to ask them questions to know what the problem is and where you need to go next. I want you to make your interaction friendlier by bridging into questions. And I got this entire idea for bridging into questions when I was managing my first contact center. My employees had to ask our customers 7 questions to be able to help them. We needed to know their rental agreement number, the location of their rental. Had they tried to reach out to someone at the location to resolve the problem, and on and on and on it went. We had a system that actually forced, at that time, a long time ago, forced my employees to go in a specific order to answer all 7 of those questions. When I would listen to calls, it sounded to me like we were interviewing customers, and if we didn't have the right tone, it could sound like we were interrogating. So I wanted a softer approach when we had to ask a lot of questions, and the solution to that was to bridge into questions. Here's what I mean by bridge into questions. To determine what happened, I'll need to ask you some questions. So rather than just jump into 3, 4, 5, 20 questions, you're going to kind of segue there. So to determine what happened, I'm going to have to ask you some questions, or do you mind if I ask you some questions so we can figure out what's happened here? You want to be natural and conversational, but what you don't want to do is just simply jump into a line of questioning. So I can assist you. May I ask you a few questions? Number 5, one of my favorite things on the list, if not my absolute favorite, speak in complete sentences. This is the easiest way to instantly come across as friendlier, warmer, and more personable. To go from one word demands just, to be more conversational is just to make what you're saying a complete sentence. Here's what I mean. Say, may I have your email address? Or ask, may I have your email address? Rather than say, email address. Just make it a complete sentence. Yes, it's more words, but you sound so much friendlier when you say, may I have your email address versus email address? Do you happen to have your claim number rather than claim number? So you get what I'm saying. Make it a complete sentence. Can I have your mailing address rather than mailing address? Whatever you have to ask the customer, always put that in a complete sentence, whether that is a chat, email, and certainly over the phone. Number 6, ask if you can help with anything else. Now, I know a lot of you have to do this. It's a part of the expectations in your contact center, your customer service department. It's a part of that expectation because it's friendly, because we want to make people feel taken care of. You likely already have verbiage for that, so we won't spend any more time there. Finally, I want you to end your interaction with a fond farewell. And I use those words, fond farewell, quite intentionally. I want it to feel as pleasant as walking your guest in your home to the door. You want to, even if you're ready to go, right? And they've overstayed their welcome, you're still going to be friendly. Even if it's an act, you're going to be warm and you're going to be friendly. Here's how you might do that. Well, if there's nothing else, all that's left is for me to wish you a great afternoon. I was talking to a lady at AT&T many, many years ago, and after she troubleshooted my problem, she ended the call this way. Well, if there's nothing else, all that's left for me is to wish you a great afternoon. I remember that. I remember the connection I felt with that lady. That's how I want your fond farewell to feel. Now, you don't have to be that upbeat, although there's nothing wrong with that. That's an example. If you simply say, have a wonderful afternoon, you've done your job. Here's another example. I enjoy talking with you, Teresita. I hope you enjoy your new duffel bag. This farewell is customized to what took place in the call. The idea here is to end the call on a friendly, upbeat note because people remember the first thing in a call and the last thing. So we really have to pay attention to the way we start and end a call. And if you use this fond farewell, well, you will have nailed that ending. Thank you for listening to my ideas for how to take your telephone experience to the next level. If my video today helped you, make sure you like the video. It makes me smile to know that I have created value for you. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure you subscribe to my channel. That way you are the first to know when I release a new video. As a bonus for you, I have a link in the description box to a worksheet that you can download. The worksheet has each of the 7 tips that I just walked you through. You can use the worksheet as a refresher. If you are a trainer or manager, you can use the worksheet to train your team. Thank you again. I wish all of you all of the success you're prepared to work for.